I tell you who I saw in Morrisons a week last Wednesday, loitering by the citrus fruits. Helen Butterley. You know, horsey Helen. Inspecting the tangerines with such vigour she was. Pity she didn't pay as much attention to her children in their younger years. Alan, her youngest, is currently doing a 7-year stretch for attempted robbery of Mrs. Watershaw's garden gnome. He did no more than hurl it through her car window, glass everywhere. And then he hot-wired it, successfully, although I've no idea how. And 30 yards up the street was stopped by a lamppost. Absolutely twatted he was. And I don't just mean by the lamppost. And we all know where he gets that from. Thankfully, no one was hurt, and it was only a K-Reg Ford Escort. It didn't even have power steering, would you believe? So, no real damage done. As for our eldest, Peter, works at that budget supermarket. Lidl, I think it's called. Stacks shelves at night, or so I'm reliably told. Got it arguably worse off than Ellen, I'm sure you'll agree. I'm not really sure what happened to her Caroline, though, the middle child. But then they don't tend to be as memorable, do they? Daughters. She tried to strike up a conversation with me. I don't mind telling you, I didn't know where to put my face. She said, "Good morning." I said, "Is it?" She took me as being feisty, I could tell. I meant, is it morning? Only I'd left my watch on the dresser and I could have sworn it'd be past noon. She looked old. As she moved on to inspecting the lemons, she asked how I was. She had that sort of tone about her, you know, the kind that is overly sincere to the point that there's no sincerity at all. I muttered fine. I hadn't the time nor the inclination to share my feelings with a woman whose face is as sour as the fruit she's fondling. I know why she asks mine. Sharon. They go to a vagicide class together. Strengthens your pelvic floor, apparently. Can't say I have a need for it myself. We've solid oak throughout. Got an excellent deal in the Boxing Day sales. Free fitting, too. Strapping chap. Anyway, Sharon. You know Sharon. Sharon used to work at the paper shop on Whitsworth Road. Had one eye looking at you and the other one looking for you. Well, as you know, she's like a manure spreader when it comes to dishing out gossip. And even though she no longer works at Mr. Mandu's newsagent's confection off licence, I have it on good authority that she's still very well connected to the community here. As her husband, Simon, continues to help out with the cash and carry runs for Mr. Mandu. Well, ever since Mr. Mandu had his accident, he's needed support, you know, till he gets back on his feet. Poor man. Such a terrible ordeal. And a full hip replacement as a result of slipping on a puddle of spilled yoghurt in his stockroom. Strawberry, I believe, before you ask. And if that wasn't bad enough, he was wearing Crocs at the time. Oh, imagine the embarrassment. So when the medics came to the scene, he was wearing Crocs with socks. I'm not one to judge, but it's hardly workplace-appropriate footwear, is it? Come to think of it, I can't think of when an appropriate time to wear Crocs with socks would be. Or just Crocs in general, for that matter. Hideous. Now, I know full well that my affairs, whilst not scandalous, would be considered hot topics of discussion in Kinley, on account of my standing in the community, and I will not have the likes of them dining out on my comings and goings. Besides, I'm no gossip myself. Whilst I speak as I find, I do not share what I know about others. Or at least not in a willy-nilly fashion. Always did admire her tabard, though. Sharon's. She always kept it neat and pristine. Very respectable. Oh, and she could bag a quarter of chocolate limes without even needing to weigh it. Right on the nose it would be. She had a distinct capability for bagging sweets and confectionery that can only be admired. Just a pity that her capabilities didn't extend to doing a better job of mopping up the stockroom floors. Although I wouldn't have put it past her to have spilt that Muller corner on purpose. And make no mistake, I suspect that's why she no longer works at Mr. Mandu's. Although I've no evidence on the matter, so, wouldn't wish to start a rumour. Hasn't impeded her ability to act as a conduit for local gossip and goings-on, mind. More's the pity. So you see, that's why I couldn't possibly divulge details of my own goings-on with Helen when I saw her in Morrisons in fresh produce, and then again briefly at baked morning goods aisle. Every detail I'd have shared would have winged its way back to Sharon no sooner than I'd got my shopping in the back of my denim blue Mercedes-Benz SLK with heated seats and heated steering wheel. We bought it from new. It was delivered last month. Keith, my husband, doesn't like me driving it much, but as I say to him, I'm not keen on the sound of your breathing much. I said to him, if you pack it in, well, if he did, I could clock up as many miles as I like. Really is a lovely car. But look, I'm not the showy type. She didn't leave Morrisons until 37 minutes after me, Helen. I could see she was in the cafe with a scone and a Fanta. Who drinks a Fanta whilst eating a scone, I ask you? It was bad enough that she went jam before cream, but then she's always been uncouth. When she did eventually leave the supermarket, I waited until she popped the boot of her car. It was I don't know, one of these Chinese or Japanese models, lesser known, cheap. I drove by, roof down, heated steering wheel on, and said, "Oh, Helen, so good to see you." Gave her a little wave and then drove off. Let that get back to Sharon.